Greetings and welcome again, everybody, to our second part of the talks on the current times, where we're looking specifically, I think, at the spirituality of the times as opposed to getting bogged down in the religious side of things, and always bearing in mind we want to, authenticate ourselves and deprogram ourselves from a lot of things, and in doing that, raise our vibration, raise our spirituality, and bearing in mind we've been doing this since the Atlantean times. I mean, all the epochs that we've all been through, we've done it. It's been a long continuum, and it's going to carry on as well. And as we've moved in and out of different forms and states and so on, and so at the moment and currently at this conjunction where we are now, it's very deep currents of human evolution. And I think with Errol and his astrological knowledge, he does awaken that part in us where we've lost the spiritual, the perception of living among spiritual beings. He's always speaking to us that we're living amongst spiritual beings. And I think we're getting more back to that space where it's not just us in physical form, and we can start relating and interacting with the spiritual beings around us, and with that, our spiritual vision, our enlightenment, our consciousness will return, our primal wisdom, because Errol's often talking about truth and wisdom as well, and that primal wisdom, universal wisdom, I think, is what we're looking for. So right now at this time, we spent a lot of time yesterday talking about where we are now, the spiritual meaning of right now from a planetary point of view, planetary alignment point of view. And it's a very specific couple of days right now, because it's overlapping with the Aries full moon sun tomorrow. So Errol's going to finish off from yesterday. We were talking a little bit about geopolitical aspects regarding the East and the West, and then we will go into just uncovering the greatness, I think, of the Aries and the manifestation that's possible, and things coming out of the blue. I mean, I think, Errol, good evening and welcome to the Jane Live and the last part of our discussion. I just remember last night, one of the things you said, things are going to come out of the blue. So over to you, Errol.
Great. Lovely, Jane. Good. Hello, everyone. You can't speak to me, but I can speak to you. And so hopefully you got quite a lot from last night's long session. And we just have another half an hour tonight just to complete it. All right. So I was sharing last night as we ended about the Russian-Ukraine war, and the way that the world is now dividing into by force means a multi-polar global international system, in which we will have Russia and China and various other nations, the BRIC nations, of which, of course, South Africa is part of that, and India and Brazil, Venezuela, Iran, etc., forming one side of the more the kind of, shall we say, eastern side against the Western United States, European Union, Australia, etc. side. And although people look at this and might be a bit alarmed by it, they shouldn't, because this is very much what's supposed to happen.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And as I said, the war was instigated by the United States and the European Union, and many people in NATO itself, including the ex-American ambassador to Russia, and so on, warned that if NATO expanded eastward, then this would create a problem for Russia. So the whole war is not really a big thing. I mean, it's like all wars. There's lots of destruction. There's lots of killing. There's lots of wounding. There's lots of pain and suffering, because that's war, and that's why war is a horrendous thing. that basically this war is not going to last long, because Putin is not an idiot. He's actually a very intelligent leader, and he doesn't want this war to last long. He wants it to be finished as quickly as possible for Ukraine to become neutral and refuse to join NATO, which is absolutely right for that area. And then we'll have this multipolar world, because now Russia is switching to China, to the Chinese banking system, to the Chinese yuan currency, which is going to counteract the American dollar. And soon we'll have this kind of rebalancing of international affairs, which is a good thing, because, you know, like balancing the West and the East, so to speak, is a bit like balancing the right-hand brain and the left-hand brain. Or balancing the feminine energy, the East, and the masculine energy, the West. And so when we often talk about the balancing of the individual, spiritual, material, East, West, left brain, right brain, and so on, and we often forget that if we want a world which is balanced, we're going to have a balance between the West and the East too. And that's what's happening. So it's a good sign, and it's actually a spiritual sign at a collective level.
Absolutely. And sometimes I think, Errol, the people that do die, it's in self-sacrifice to shift humanity.
Yes, it's some deeper collective level where there's a purpose to it. There's an old saying which says, that self-sacrifice is part of human evolution. Maybe it's even part of cosmic evolution, and everything and everyone is self-sacrificing. But if you can make self-sacrifice a conscious, intelligent self-sacrifice, it's very different to an unconscious self-sacrifice.
True, 100%. But maybe the physical form is unconscious, but the soul form is conscious.
Yes, and ultimately, of course, no one dies. They just leave their body.
Exactly.
And that's been the case since the beginning of time, and the case till the end of time. And I often feel more sorrow for people who are left behind or wounded or whatever, or maimed, than I feel for people who passed on, and at least they've left the body and they've gone into the light, and they're no longer suffering and being limited on the physical plane. And of course, people can watch NDEs, near-death experiences on YouTube. You can see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them proving beyond doubt, 100%, that there's no such thing as death. And that for 95% of people who leave the body, it's most usually a lightful and joyful and a wonderful experience. Of course, the people who come back report it, but the vast majority of people who pass on, of course, don't come back. Would be reporting it.
Yeah.
So they just go there. So the vast majority of people go on into the next phase of their evolution, and it's only the people that come back, obviously, who report NDEs. But it's always good to see those NDEs, because you can see people from professors to atheists to rabbis to priests to business people to intellectuals to ordinary men and women in the streets who've all had these NDEs and report very much the same type of experiences.
And we can learn so much from them, especially, what I was alluding to earlier, and what you do is about our life among spiritual beings that are around us 24/7 with us here. And we forget so much of that. We don't even forget. We're not even aware of it. We're not conscious of it.
Yes, because obviously they're invisible, and those worlds are invisible. But they're interconnected with the physical world, so the physical world is interconnected to them. In fact, I've just sent out a short while ago a new article on the Jewish Passover, Christian resurrection, and the truth about resurrection, which you would have received. Okay. And in it, we were explaining that everyone has a higher self or soul, who esoterically is called the solar angel. And that the solar angels, if you study the esoteric teachings, the ageless wisdom teachings, you learn not just from the study, but from your personal experience, once you go for the personal experience, that these solar angels, or our so-called souls, or immortal souls, actually originate from and live in the atmosphere of Venus. Because Venus, in astrology, Venus is Earth's twin sister planet, or Earth's higher self planet. It's the first light in the heavens, the morning star, and it's the last light in the heavens, the evening star. And symbols are a language of truth. So often, you have to be aware of symbols, because that's the only way you can interpret truth, via symbols. And so the symbol of Venus being the first light in the heaven, and in the morning and evening, the morning star, the evening star, and being Earth's twin sister planet, which most people refer to Venus. You remember that little song, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? This is the song about Venus.
Okay.
And it's from Venus that our solar angels or souls exist on, and they make contact with us at the human level on Earth. And then we establish a vertical relationship or alignment or partnership between ourselves at the human level and the solar angels at the transpersonal soul level, and between the Earth as a planet and Venus as a planet. And then we have what's called like our inner vertical partnership with the solar angel or the soul. And every single human on Earth has a solar angel. Who's their inner teacher, their inner guide. In fact, their highest possible teacher or guide, because that's actually the responsibility of that particular solar angel towards the individual. And if people put enough time and energy and effort into their inner work, not just their external work, and made in meditation their connection, their alignment, and started establishing a kind of communication energy with the solar angel, the solar angel then begins to establish its more direct relationship with the human, and you have this vertical partnership taking place between the mortal human self, ourselves, and our immortal higher selves, the solar angels from Venus, which also creates a link between the Earth and Venus itself in terms of the solar system. So this is big, it's big, when I'm talking, it sounds very big and cosmic, but actually it's not big and cosmic in the sense this is what the divine plan is. It's very, very almost a vital part of the divine plan. In fact, in esoteric teaching, what I've just talked about is called the secret of secrets. So that's how big it is. That in the esoteric teaching, it's actually called the secret of secrets. There's this relationship between Venus and the Earth, and between the solar angels, our immortal higher selves, and between our human selves, and establishing connection. Once the connection is established, then people start receiving protection, they start receiving guidance, they start receiving various teachings, they start being directed and guided what to do, where to go, who to meet, etc., etc. And then a balance exists between the inner life of the person and the external life of the person, which is what you might call the equal to arm cross. And the person's life changes, obviously, very dramatically.
Errol, do you teach on this? Do you teach people the practical side of what you've just spoken about?
Yeah, we've taught this all around the world, and taught this to many thousands of people, and we still do. And often, of course, where it's difficult is that we're sharing something and teaching something, which is actually something which always surprises us, but doesn't surprise us, which is not really taught by many people, not even mentioned by any people. Because people often talk about the soul, or the Atma, or the Dusha, or the Anima, which are various names given to the soul. But if you say to people, well, righto, but who or what is the soul? Please tell me exactly who or what is the soul. Very few people can actually say the soul is. I mean, they can say the soul is immortal.
Sure.
The soul is our higher self. Yeah, of course, true. But they can't tell you exactly who or what is the soul. And that is who the soul is. It's the solar angels from Venus.
Interesting.
So, and they're already perfected consciousnesses. So the solar angels from Venus are already perfected. They are perfected selves. So they are the perfect archetype of every man and every woman on Earth. And when you get a visual connection with the solar angels, which we have had a number of times, the only way you can describe it is if you said, well, try and imagine perfect, 100% perfect man, 100% perfect woman, and even 100% perfect couple, perfect family, because we've had that contact too. That's who the solar angels are. They are perfected transhuman souls. And the important thing about that now, and the reason I mention it, besides the fact that it's, of course, of essential importance and significance, maybe the most important and significant thing of all, esoterically or spiritually, is just what I said, is that the planet Venus now has, in the early part of April, moved into Pisces. So now it's moving through Pisces. And between the 27th of April and the beginning of May, it will come into conjunction with Jupiter and Neptune.
Interesting.
So we talked about the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces last night.
Yeah.
Now Venus will come into conjunction with those planets. So you'll have Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune all in conjunction in Pisces in those almost 4, 5, 6 days, 7 days at this time, which is very, very unusual, because those are the 3 planets that bring through love into the world. Venus, the planet of love, as we know; Jupiter, the planet of what you might call Christ love; and Neptune, the planet of what you might call cosmic love.
Gee
so
whiz.
the 3 planets representing the quality of love are coming into alignment, into conjunction in that time. That's going to be a very, very important time for people, and potentially a time for people to get in contact with their solar angels.
Did you say it was 27th of April?
Yeah, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, and then going into the first few days of May, that triple conjunction will occur. A very unusual triple conjunction, as I said, because the last time that Jupiter and Neptune made conjunction in Pisces was 1856.
Yeah.
So this will also be the first time you might say that conjunction is occurring in Pisces with Venus coming in.
And Errol, what happened in 1856 that was significant?
There was a huge expansion and rise and interest in spirituality, in spiritualism, in all kinds of spiritual wisdom and spiritual teachings and esoteric teachings. There was also a big impact upon the religious side of that, the more sort of religious aspiration. And there was this sort of sense, this kind of excitement occurring, incorrectly, but occurring between Christians that, the Christ was about to reappear on earth, which is the same thing that's happening now in a way, but it was not the right time that was going to occur. So this time it's quite different. And my feeling about Venus coming to conjunction with Jupiter and Neptune is that the solar angels, when this occurs, are going to start making more direct contact with humans on the earth. Whether that contact is for the humans, unconscious or conscious, depends upon the humans doing the inner work to reciprocate the contact. So it's always a 50% relationship, like any couple or any friendship.
Yeah.
So the solar angel brings its energy down into the human consciousness, and the human takes their energy up into the soul consciousness, and the two meet in the middle and start this kind of conscious, cooperative, co-creative partnership. And that is one of the main facets of the divine plan. So one of the main facets of the divine plan for humanity is for the humans and their solar angels to make contact and start to become conscious cooperators.
Yeah.
So people should be aware of that, because the contact will come through meditation, and or through dreams, and or through telepathy, and or through synchronicity, and it would be like, what we call a mysterious type of process taking place, which each person will experience in their own different way. But it's basically the solar angels coming into more direct contact and saying, like, we wish to establish contact with you. But humans need to establish contact with them also, because it's a 50% relationship, like any relationship that's external is 50-50, and so the contact between the human and the transpersonal solar angel self is also 50-50. There's no other greater protection, there's no other greater wisdom, there's no other greater guidance, there's no other greater teacher than the solar angel for every single human. And when you think there's 8 billion humans on the earth, then there's automatically 8 billion solar angels. And that's just on the physical plane. because the vast majority of humanity is not an incarnation on the physical plane. The vast majority of humanity is incarnation on the astral plane and the mental plane.
Mm.
According to the esoteric teachings, humanity is composed of 60,000 million souls or spirits. So 60,000 million, of which 8 billion are on the physical plane and the rest on the emotional and mental plane. And the ones on the emotional and mental plane also have their solar angels. So, you know, we often think of humans in terms of 8 billion. Oh, 8 billion people, that's amazing, that's a huge amount. But there are trillions of superhuman beings on the higher planes of consciousness throughout the entire universe, who are doing their work at a superhuman level, and the solar angels are doing their work at a superhuman level towards humans on our planet. If people knew about that, as the esoteric teachers say, this is the secret of secrets, the mystery of mysteries, then you know, it would be amazing. And throughout history, you've got it. For instance, in Tibetan Buddhism, you've got Tara, who is the god, the sort of central goddess of the Tibetan mysteries. And you've got Kuan Yin in China. You've got Isis in Egypt. And all these particular goddesses or goddess figures and names are connected to the solar angels and are connected to Venus and the solar angels, which is also why, you know, we always associate woman with Venus. You know, men come from Mars, women come from Venus, because the angelic nature of humans is focused and based upon Venus. And I always, me and myself, often talk about how interesting it is how many men refer to their women as angels. That you're looking so angelic today. You're a real angel. And it's almost like acknowledging the feminine principle of being angelic or of higher consciousness. And that is connected to Venus itself, which is a feminine planet, and the planet of love also. So when 3 planets connected to love, Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune all come together in Pisces, the sign of the universal love, because Pisces is the sign of universal love, then we can expect some amazing situation experience to occur in those 4, 5, 6 days.
So,
End of April, beginning of May.
okay. So, Errol, then if I'm following you, the resurrection is us rising up to meet the solar angels, spiritual angels, soul angels. It's the resurrection. Is that what the sort of imagery that we were given, and what you're speaking about is about?
Yes, because you know, the celebration of so-called Easter, or the so-called resurrection, which Christians associate with the resurrection of Jesus, has nothing to do with Jesus per se. It has to do with Jesus in the sense that Jesus went through the crucifixion, which is called the 4th initiation, and then he went into the resurrection, which is the 5th initiation, and attained freedom and liberation, and demonstrated to humanity what every human being has to go through in order to attain enlightenment, and liberation, and freedom. That is Jesus' task. He said, look, I'm going to show you how it's done. I'm going to show you a story. Here it is. First of all, you've got to crucify your ego, because that's what the crucifixion was. It wasn't just his body. His ego was being crucified or transmuted. So you've got to kill your ego. You've got to crucify it. I'm crucifying it by going to this cross 3 days and 3 nights, and I'm going to do a quick crucifixion process. Nelson Mandela did it, crucified his ego in 27 years by going to jail, etc., etc. So the crucifixion can take place in hundreds of different ways. The main thing is that you are sacrificing, in a positive sense of the word, your ego in order to come into contact with your soul. Since your ego is mortal, it can be crucified because it's mortal, but the soul is immortal and can't be harmed. It's not even born, neither does it die. It's an immortal entity in itself, and that's the resurrection. So when you understand that your true self is immortal, then you are in a state of resurrection, and you are saved, because if you are mortal, well, you are saved, you are resurrected. So where the Christians made the big mistake was to project that onto Jesus, and they turned the story, make the story all around Jesus. But Jesus was doing what he did in order to say to humans,
sure,
you've got to resurrect yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to transform yourself. Forget about me. I'm not self-centered. I'm not interested in people looking towards me or worshiping me. Worship yourself. Worship your own soul. Make contact with your own soul. That's the way you'd establish your connection with your resurrected self.
Yeah, makes absolutely perfect sense. It's very simple, simplified, and thanks. Yeah. So this is what we're busy with now.
Yeah, it's very sad when I have some of my Christian friends who keep telling me Jesus is my Savior and my Lord, and I say, well, what does that mean? What do you think is going to happen when Jesus returns? As you say, he's going to return. Okay, what's he going to do? How can he save you? He can't meditate for you. He can't eat the right foods for you. He can't exercise for you. He can't think for you. He can't plan for you. He can't live the right type of life for you. All he can do is give you the teaching which helps you to do that, which he's already given 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
You're supposed to be living that teaching to the best of your possibility, not yapping off about Jesus being my Savior, because Jesus can't save anyone, because all humans have to save themselves. But people like Jesus give the teaching which enables us to understand how to save ourselves, so to speak. So, all that's interconnected in terms of the resurrection. And it has nothing whatsoever to do, in the real true sense, with Jesus per se. Even though he played his great task in human evolution, and we always love him and give thanks to him in that sense.
So as we're moving into the new, the Aquarius, what we spoke about yesterday, and the Aries full moon coming up, how are you overlapping all this, Errol?
Well, when the Aries, every single year when we have the Aries full sun moon cycle, which always occurs in April at some particular stage in April, and this time it's occurring obviously a bit later, it's the 16th, which is on tomorrow night, because I think it's around about 9 o'clock in South African time that it's occurring, and about 7 o'clock in Greenwich Mean Time. It's only at the exact time of the full sun moon cycle, when the sun, the earth and the moon are in direct alignment. That's what the full sun moon cycle means. That the energy of Aries in this case flows directly in streamlined formation into the earth and into human consciousness. It doesn't occur before then. And then it like waves out. It flows out for the next 3 or 4 days. So it flows into the mental plane, into the mental body. Then it flows into the emotional plane and the emotional body. Then it flows into the etheric plane and the etheric body. Then it flows into the physical body and the physical plane over the Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer cycles, which is why those 4 cycles are so important. But the seed energy, which is what Aries is concerned with, the seed ideas, the seed inspirations, the seed revelations, both inwardly, subjectively, and objectively, occur at the Aries full moon cycle every single year for the year ahead, because Aries is the start of the real year. The year always starts when the sun moves into Aries, the third sign, March 23rd. But Pope Gregory X, who didn't like the fact that all the Druidic nations, the Celtic nations, etc., celebrated New Year on March 21st because they were attuned to planetary rhythms. Didn't like that, so he changed it to January the 1st. And January the 1st is not a new year. It's in the sign of Capricorn, the 10th sign of the zodiac. So it can't be the new year. New energy is not flowing into the world on January the 1st. It flows into the world from March the 21st. So we will learn in the Aquarian age to start attuning to the rhythms of our planet, which are tuned to the rhythms of the solar system, which are tuned to the rhythms of the cosmos. And according to cosmic law, planetary law, we have the astrological year starting now, not in January the 1st.
Okay.
And so what happens with the new year is that under normal circumstances, the ideas and inspirations and revelations and knowledge and understanding and projects and activities which will be the seed of the new year, occur in the Aries cycle and over the Aries full sun moon cycle. So but most people, of course, are completely unconscious of that occurring, even though it does impact people. So, for instance, if people are just aware over this time, the Aries full sun moon cycle, is the next 4 days, and they watch what's happening in the world or in their nation, they'll see all these new impulses coming into their nation and into the world and think, oh, that's fascinating. All these new things seem to be happening in the world or in our nation or in my life, in our life. I wonder why they're happening now. And you could go back every single year and people could actually do it scientifically and say, that's amazing. All these new things started to happen in the Aries cycle. I wonder how come. Well, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. That's why. So if people are conscious of this, it's much more constructive than if they are unconscious of it. Because you need to be conscious to be able to work with energy in a conscious way, which is common sense. But because this particular year, 2022, is the time when we are having the sort of peak swap over, if you want to call it that, from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius, which is occurring right now. This is not just simply the impulse for the new astrological year per se, but the impulse for the new astrological age, which is going to last for the next 2,000 years. And the impulse is occurring in a way where it's showing people what no longer works and what does work and needs to work, what is being destroyed and what is collapsing and dissolving because it no longer is appropriate for human evolution, and what needs to come forth and be pioneered and initiated to represent the present future, which is part of the impulse of Aquarius. And these two are very, very different. And so people have to become aware, why are they so different? And in the latest article that we sent you, you'll see there's a lot of information there about what differentiates Pisces from Aquarius.
Lovely.
Many things. So, and one of the main things we've shared, which I've said already, is that in the age of Pisces, everyone externalized or projected their divinity outward. And so they would project onto external teachers, east and west, gurus, teachers, Jesus, Muhammad, Moses, etc., external teachings, external organizations, external religions, and project their divinity outward, which is exactly the opposite of what all the great teachers have attempted to teach humans. Whereas in the age of Aquarius, people will internalize and establish contact with a solar angel, who you could also call, if you wanted to, appropriately your Christ self or your immortal higher self. And the teacher will be contacted from within, and the teaching will come from within people, and the intelligence will come from within people, and the vocational energy will come from within people, and the inner life and the outer life of people will be balanced in a dynamic way, and people will go within, not look outside for the answers. So, the Christ is within. They're not out there in terms of Jesus, which is exactly what Jesus taught.
Yep.
The kingdom of heaven is within.
Yeah.
So, I've actually had a lift with a Christian fundamentalist one day, and we were having this discussion. And I said, well, if Jesus is your savior, how come he said the kingdom of heaven was within? You know what this guy said to me? He said, I've read the New Testament many, many, many times, he said to me. I've never, ever seen that being said by Jesus. He never said the kingdom of heaven is within. And you know why? Because it contradicts seeing Jesus as your savior. I mean, if the kingdom of heaven is within, then Jesus is not your savior.
You don't need a savior,
You've got to ignore it. You've got to not see it in order to not be confused by it. So they don't even see it. It's like this guy, he says he's never seen it in the New Testament, which, of course, it is in the New Testament. So, but it's a matter of living it. And look, to live these things is not easy, because you have to dedicate yourself to living it. You have to live it on an ongoing basis. You never stop. Every day, every night, throughout your whole life, you're living it in a more practical, more organized, more wise, more mature fashion, and you never stop. You never sort of say, well, that's it, I've had enough. There's nothing more to learn, nothing more to do. There's always something more to learn, something more to do, and that's evolution.
Well, I think, Errol, in parallel with what you're saying, I mean, I'm in obviously natural health. And, it's about physician heal thyself. The healing, the answers are all within you. And how many people visit 16, 20 practitioners out there to try and heal and cure themselves, but they need to fix them, because no one's in their body. No one can ever know exactly what's in there. We can be catalysts and show and reveal, but at the end of the day, do your work, because you are going to heal you. And what's completely in parallel with what you're saying.
Yes, no one. I mean, how can anyone heal anyone else? How can anyone know about anyone else?
No.
I mean, I do astrology readings for people. I get deeply into people via the astrology birth chart, but I have no idea about the complex nature of the person I'm dealing with, because humans are so complex. I mean, they've got a physical body, an emotional body, a sexual body, a mental body, a higher mental body, an intuitive body, a soul body, a spirit body, and all these bodies and worlds are interconnecting with their lives, their inner life, their outer life, and only a human can become the conscious spider in the center of their web to understand themselves and to heal themselves. Of course, the astrology can help, the healer can help, the holistic practitioner can help, the good psychologist can help, but after your session, or 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever session, the person's got to go home and got to do it. Their life.
Yeah.
And they've got to do 95% of the work. It's the same with during COVID. I mean, people had to take responsibility or not for their health. And those people who took responsibility for their health and ate healthily and took their vitamins and took vitamin C and got in the sun for vitamin D and took zinc and all the rest of the stuff they had to do, and developed a strong mental attitude, etc., had to do it themselves.
They did.
In order to not be affected by COVID. And people who didn't do it, of course, either relied upon external sources like the vaccines, which have now been proven beyond any doubt by the latest evidence from the FDA, that the FDA were repressing evidence of the side effects, the terrible side effects of the Pfizer vaccine, and it was not allowed to go out, and it was only forced to go out because a judge in America forced the FDA to release this knowledge. And now it's released, and all these terrible side effects which Pfizer had known about, which were being suppressed and not revealed, are now out in the open. But meanwhile, millions of people took the vaccines and are going to, at some stage, pay the price for doing that. Because they didn't want to think for themselves. They didn't want to do their own self-healing, their own self-explorations and experimentations, take responsibility for their life, which is part of the evolutionary process. And those people that did, of which there were many, many people, by the way, came through, without being affected from COVID and without even being affected by fear or apprehension, insecurity from COVID. In fact, they became even much stronger and much more clear from the COVID pandemic than they did before.
So it was a very good a learning opportunity, but a divine learning opportunity for people. And then, there's always that percentage that do learn. But you know what, Errol, the more people that learn, the more people will learn, and the more people will learn, and the unconsciousness will become semi-conscious and then conscious. And I mean, you and me too, like you just said, you never stop learning, you never stop raising your consciousness, raising your vibration, because you don't stop.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the most important things we try and get through to people, because, I mean, a lot of people do this. I don't know why they do it. I can't understand it. I've never understood it. I've been in this path for 52 years. I've never understood why people who are on the inner path think that at some stage you stop. Correct. And there's nothing really more to learn. There's nothing really more to gain. There's nothing really more to understand. There's nothing really more to express. There's nothing really more to evolve. When you live in an infinite universe, and it's like, come on, that is like about the last thing you do if you're evolving consciously.
You know, that's so true. And I mean, people say to me, okay, so they get well. Okay, so how much longer must I carry on with this? It's like, oh, how much longer must you carry on? You want to just stop and let everything unravel? Or that question would never enter my head, because you want to just, you know, constantly be evolving on a higher level. But it is interesting, yeah, that they ask the question, you know, well, how much longer?
Yeah. And I mean, I get people who sometimes email us and say, you and Imogen are really arrogant. The newsletters and articles you put out, and the information you put out, you're acting superior to us. And I say, we're not acting superior to us. We're just expressing all the time, energy and effort we've put into learning and studying and reading and meditating, etc., and learning and gaining more knowledge and understanding. And then we put it out. And if it happens to be something that you do not understand or have not yet understood, to accuse us of being arrogant is ridiculous. You're the one who are arrogant, because arrogance means when you limit yourself and then think that you know because you limit yourself, that's arrogance. Arrogance is a form of self-limitation, not a form of self-expansion. It's like, you know, if you say, like people say, Jesus was such an arrogant guy. Look at the way he was teaching these things, telling us these things. Who does he think he is? He's such an arrogant Jew. No, he's not arrogant. He's just sharing his knowledge and his understanding. That's all. And so you keep evolving, you keep learning, you learn more, you gain more. The solar angel imprints more information. You can read or study things that you haven't learned before. You get new revelations, etc. And over the Aries sun moon cycle, people always get new imprints, new revelations, new understanding, new ideas, which are connected with the present and future, not with the past. And often when the new ideas and impulses come into people are very surprised to say, like, my God, I didn't realize there was something so new, so different, so unusual, something I've never even thought about before. And people can actually say it in a surprising way. It's like, you mean to say there's something I don't know? You mean to say there's some great revelation I never thought about before? Yes, because you live in an infinite universe. Of course there is. But of course, the solar angels are only imprinting to our consciousness what they know we're ready for.
Correct.
They're not going to imprint. For instance, the solar angels don't imprint a scientific theory in the consciousness of an artist, because an artist's way is through art. A scientist's way is through science. An astrologer's way is through astrology and psychology. A healer's way is through healing. So it's no use imparting some great scientific fact to me. I wouldn't be able to understand it. The same way it's no use imparting some astrological thing to a scientist. He wouldn't understand it. The solar angels aren't idiots. They transmit only what each individual needs in order for them to express and fulfill their vocation to a greater and greater degree. And that's what happens in the Aries cycle.
All right, so I think let's sort of wrap up, Errol, because just in terms of recording time.
Right, Darren. Good. Great. So I think that, that's there. But as I said to everyone before, when we've done the interviews, if anyone wants to know something or needs to share something or wants to this or that, all they do is just email us at, oneplanet1humanity@gmail.com, and we're here.
Okay, just hang on. Let me type that in here. So what did you call it? One planet, one humanity. Hang on, I'm typing. One planet, one
humanity.
Yes.
At gmail.com.
Just make sure that I wrote it correctly. Yeah, I think I did. And I'm just going to put... Okay, well then that's great. That's on there. And I just want to thank you so much for your time, Errol, and for sharing, a very complex, intricate subject, so simply for us. It takes a great teacher to present information in a simple way, and you do that because of your wisdom. and your you know your years and years and years, and probably, you know, the epochs before and before and before, and you bring all of that wisdom with you too. So just thank you so much. And I know Emmy sits there too, and thanks Emmy as well.
Right.
And thanks for your you know, the Easter gift, shall I say, because this is a gift to everybody who reads this. It's unbelievably powerful, unbelievably useful for us for the next, not only the next couple of days, but as Errol says, the next couple of months of full sun moon months. So
yeah, because you'll see once again, as with the Aries full moon cycle, you'll see the impulses come through. It'll take a month to unfold to the Taurus full moon, which is the 16th of May. You'll see the next impulse come through after that. Then you'll see a month, then it comes to the Gemini full moon, the 14th of June, the next impulse there. And so you see it unfolding like a sort of flower that's unfolding 12 petals.
Yeah.
Over the astrological. That'll be the great science for the future. I mean, and that's just like the science that we're beginning to now understand. It's a cosmic science, so you know, people will gradually learn it and begin to understand that everyone needs to understand about it, not just astrologers. Obviously.
Exactly.
Awesome. If anyone else, you know, wants ask any questions?
No, there don't seem to be any questions. I think people are just really listening, you know, listening in and absorbing, and a lot of this does need to be integrated. And I mean, I've made some notes for myself as well to remind me to go through it all. But I think, Errol, you know, what we can, whatever we can do to, shall I say, enliven Jesus's teachings and the teachings from all the epochs before, whatever we can do to enliven that and make it more practical and real for people will be great. So maybe just think about, you know, one or two lecture events that we could, you know, those people that are inclined could join in. And because I mean, for me, I'm very, very focused on resurrecting myself. You know, I think that's what it's about. I don't really go left or right of that. So it would be really awesome to get a group together to do that. And I'll put out some feelers and get back to you.
Yeah, I mean, whenever people, as you know, if ever people want to organize, you know, any kind of, you know, workshop or talk for us, then just let us know where you want to do it, what time.
Yeah,
you do it. It's that simple.
I think that will be a wonderful, wonderful thing. Just also to continue this work. And anyway, I'll speak to you about that a bit afterwards. And everybody, wishing you, you know, the best next couple of days from a spiritual perspective, your enlivenment, your you know, your realization of what's inside you and what you need to do. It's very much about what you need to do. It's not about following other teachers, as Errol says, and other people, other friends. It's very unique. And, you know, we can really draw on the ancient wisdom of our whole continuum, as from the beginning, it's going to go on into the future. It's a continuum. So we'll be constantly drawing on our past and dipping into the future and coming back, and vertical, interdimensional too. So, yes, I wish you wonderful revelations. I wish wonderful seeds are planted and lots of lovely things come out of the blue, and that there's huge manifestation in the next year and years to come. So, Errol, again, thank you very much for you know, planting the seed for us, to use the pun in an intended way, going to go forward. It's been invaluable. Thanks a million.